Okay, so I finally managed to get my hands on the leaked Andor Season 2 trailer, which was featured during Star Wars celebrations, but not made available to the wider public. And it's a pretty short trailer, actually it's more like a teaser trailer. But we still need to break it down. However, since this trailer wasn't supposed to be released publicly in the first place, I can't really show you the whole trailer. The most I can do is probably do a few screenshots, and given how bad the quality is, this won't be the most detailed breakdown either. Instead, I'll go over some general points and observations I noticed while watching, and if you're interested in watching the trailer, I'll leave a link down below as to where I found it. Anyways, let's get started. We begin the trailer with a bunch of behind the back shots, quite similar to some of the trailers that we got for Season 1, and we do get to see possibly a few new locations. This here might be Inspector Young, who turned out to be the rebel spy in Season 1, and looking at the backdrop, this does appear to be Coruscant. Then in the next shot, we see Pendergast walk into this circular looking room, but more on that later. A lot of the shots from the trailers are really just close-up shots of characters that we were introduced to back in Season 1. We see Cassian, Mon Mothma, Cyril, Bix, Deidre, Luthen, and Vel. We also see that Cyril has undergone some serious changes as he is now dressed in black with a beret, and what this might suggest is that since the events on Ferrix with him saving Deidre Miro, Cyril may now formally be part of the Empire, potentially working as a low-level operative, and we do see him converse secretly with another Imperial. We also see him read some sort of message written on a thin slip of paper, which really reminds me of how spies communicated with each other in the real world, writing information on small bits of paper that could easily be hidden inside a pen or some other small object. We see Cassian enter a room with his blaster drawn, and judging by the decor of the room, it does look pretty luxurious. At least more luxurious than what Cassian might be used to. But what is more interesting here is that in the next shot, we see Cassian and Bix sharing some intimacy, which seems to indicate that the two are back together. As we learned back in Season 1, Bix and Cassian do share a romantic past with each other, which ended for some reason. Bix then went on to have a relationship with Tim, but with Tim now out of the way, Cassian and Bix are free to rekindle an old flame. And if you look in the background, you can actually see a lamp of some sort, and the design of this lamp seems to match the lamp from an earlier scene. And this creates a lot of questions, as if Cassian is returning to his own room, why does he have his blaster drawn? Is he infiltrating his own room or crashing into someone else's? Does this have something to do with Bix? So who knows? But I find it far from a coincidence that both scenes take place in a room with the same type of decor. In the next shot, we get to see Clea, who turns around quite elegantly dressed in some fancy looking clothes. This scene is of course taking place in Luthen's shop, and it's hard to say what this scene means without some additional context. But the color of her clothes might give us a clue to the situation. If you go back to Season 1 of Andor, Clea only dresses in two types of colors. When she's acting as the shop assistant, Clea mostly dresses in a white and blue color scheme. But when she's going undercover or running a mission outside the shop, she changes into dark reddish colors. And so you can interpret her wearing red as her true face, the individual who is completely devoted to the rebellion, willing to do whatever is necessary. And when she wears blue and white, she becomes the shopkeeper's assistant, a facade hiding from the Empire. So with her wearing these same colors, you can be sure that she's acting in an official capacity, putting up an act to some end. We then of course see Cyril eating cereal with his mom, which we have seen many times in Season 1. We also see Dr. Gorst make a return, no doubt interrogating some other poor soul. We cut to some protests before being shown Mon Mothma's continued political adventures, and it's pretty clear that she's trying to gain more support for the rebellion. We also see Chief Inspector Young riding the same elevator he used to visit Luthen, but this time his blaster is drawn, the purpose of which is rather unclear, but things don't look too good. We then see a group of people entering what looks to be a sewer, and the picture quality isn't great, but this looks like Cyril, who is leading the group, no doubt conducting an investigation of some sort. We then see a big circular room, the very same one that we saw Pendergast walk into in an earlier shot, and this is perhaps the new command center for the ISB, conducting analysis and investigation on rebel activities. And this certainly is a step up from the previous season, as the Empire would undoubtedly take the rebel threat more seriously following the events on Ferrix. We then see a group of men armed and wearing berets, and at first I thought these might be rebels. Their character design reminded me of the French partisans during World War II, but on a closer look, these guys also appear to be the same ones next to Cyril in the sewer. And so, unless Cyril has decided to switch sides, the allegiance of these guys might belong to the Empire, although to what end isn't very clear. Cinta makes a return and Wilmot Pack as well, who, as we saw in the Season 1 finale, ends up joining the crew, and a new character by his side, showing us that the Rebel network has grown since the events of the first season. We then see Clea again, but this time in a more intimate setting, with a man's hand touching her face. And this is our first look into more of Clea's character, and this season might just show us her vulnerabilities, weaknesses that might be exploited by the Empire. We then see Gorse being held at gunpoint, and judging by the way this person is holding the gun, I don't think this is Cassian, but perhaps Bix, back to take revenge for the things the Doctor put her through back in Season 1. We then see clips of a battle interjected with shots of other characters, including a first meeting between Cassian and Clea, which is going to be awkward given that she tried to have Cassian killed back in Season 1. We also get to see Supervisor Logret, who was also featured in the first episode, and in the trailer we hear him scream "shut it down." But by far the most interesting detail throughout the entire trailer is that the vast majority of the shots all take place around the same location, specifically within and around this beige sandy colored building, a location which features Cyril quite frequently, a heavy Imperial presence, and this site of a blaster fight between the Rebels and the Imperials, all of which suggests that this location will be hugely important, especially within the first few episodes. And a lot of this conflict really reminded me of Ferrix, with a protest quickly escalating into a full-blown conflict with the Empire, although this time the Rebels seem far more prepared instead of it being a one-sided massacre like last time. And so, with so much action revolving around this one location, this is very likely to be the main location for the first 3-episode arc of the show, perhaps with the Rebels intent on stirring up trouble to get something they want within the Imperial facility. So that's all for this breakdown. Leave a comment down below to let me know what you think. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I'm the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.